Okay, so now we have our Firebase database. What we're going to do is we're actually going to change the transcoding function that we created in Lab 1 to write to Firebase as it's transcoding a video. Before we do that, we need to create a service account. A service account is an account that allows our Lambda functions to talk to Firebase and to write to it, so it authenticates our functions. To get started, we're going to go to Firebase in our project, and then we're going to click on this little cog here next to Project Overview. Then click on the Project Settings button. Once it's loaded, click on the Service Accounts tab at the very end. If you get a page like this, just click on the Manage All Service Account link in the top right corner. This will open the Firebase IAM console. We're going to click on Create Service Account, and then we're going to give it a name. We'll just call it Workshop. We're going to go to Role, we're going to click on Project, and then Editor. Make sure you tick Furnish a new private key, and that JSON is selected. Then click on Create. This will give us a JSON file containing our credentials for our service account. Click on Close, and now we're going to go back into our serverless workshop directory. Navigate to Lab 5, Lambda, and the transcode video Firebase enabled directory. Copy the JSON file that we downloaded from your downloads directory into this directory here. This JSON file is going to give our function permission to access our Firebase database as an authorized user and allowing it to write to the database. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to rename this, and you don't have to do this. I'm just going to call this key. Just make sure you take note of the file name here. Now, if you remember in Lab 4, we created a file upload feature. And what that would do is to create a unique ID for the videos that we're going to upload, and that'll be in the path as like one of the directories. The reason that we're using unique IDs instead of the file name is that multiple people might upload the same file or a different file even with the same file name. And we want to be able to distinguish between those different files, so we actually use the unique ID instead of the file name. We're going to use that unique ID, and we're going to actually append that to the Firebase at the top level directory of the video key. This transcoding function will actually add another key under that called transcoding true, which will show that bubbling animation that you saw in the previous video. Since that unique ID is part of the file path or the key for that S3 file, anytime a trigger gets called, we can actually extract that key, that unique ID, from the path with the file that it's uploaded. Now let's have a look at the index.js file, or this function code, what we've actually added to it. So I'm just going to open this up in my text editor. We can see that the code is mostly the same from the original function, but now we've got this push video entry to Firebase function here. So if we go down, we can see that we're creating a job as we were before, but when it's done, we're calling this push video entry to Firebase with the unique video key. So let's go back up to that function. We can see here we're getting a reference to the Firebase database. Then we're getting the key called videos. Then with the unique ID that we passed in, we're actually creating a child element on videos. And we're creating another key with an object called transcoding true. So that's going to create a new entry in our Firebase database with the key and transcoding set as true. Now the reason that it can actually do this is because this Firebase object has access to our database. So if we go up to where Firebase is defined, just up here, you can see we're defining the service account with an environment variable called service account, which will be a link to that file and our Firebase database URL. To get an idea of what this looks like, I've actually just opened our Firebase database again, and we can see that we're getting the video key. Then we're going to append the unique ID for our video, and then we're going to set transcoding here. And in our function, we're setting it to true. Now that we know how it works, let's upload that function and replace the current function there. To do this, let's open a terminal in Lab 5 directory. Okay, so I've opened my terminal and I'm in the serverless workshop directory in the Lab 5 directory. And we're just going to change into Lambda. Then we're going to change into transcode video Firebase enabled directory. We're going to do an npm install and pull in all the directories or all the dependencies for this function. Once that's done, we're going to do npm run pre-deploy. Now if we do an ls on this directory, we can see that we've got our deployment zip here, and we've also got the node modules directory. Make sure you've got both of these before you upload your function. Now let's go back to the Lambda console. Now that we're back in our AWS console, we're just going to click on services up the top, then click on Lambda under compute. Let's click on our transcode video function here. Then scroll down and change this here. So we're going to click on upload to upload a different zip. We're going to navigate to that Lambda directory, then the transcode video Firebase enabled directory, and click on our Lambda deployment zip. Now before we save this, let's go down and let's add two more environment variables. The first one we need to add is called service account. And this is the file name for that file, the JSON file that we downloaded from Firebase. So I named mine acg sfb-key.json. Yours will be different, so just make sure you pop in your file name here. The second environment variable we want to add is called database URL. And this is the URL to our Firebase database. So if we go back to our Firebase page, we'll click on database. We're just going to copy this URL here. Go back to Lambda, and we're pasting it here. Now that we've added all of that, let's just click on save up the top. Now that our function's saved, we can actually go and test this out. So go to your website again. You can see that I'm still logged in here. And we're going to add one of our video files. Let's click on here. We're going to go back to our serverless workshop, sample videos, and we'll upload Disney. So we can see that the file upload's been kicked off. And what we hope to see is by the end of this file being uploaded, it'll trigger the transcoding video function, which should show up another thumbnail here. That thumbnail should have that loading, which should set the transcoding as true. And we should see that bubble loading screen that we saw before. And there we have it, folks. We've got a new video thumbnail with the loading screen here. And if we actually go to our database, we should be able to see it here. And there it is. Awesome. Now that we can see that we can add to this Firebase database, the final step of the puzzle is to add the source once it's complete and show the video here so we can play it in our website.